Oh, nice. Cool. Is it? Hello.
Are we live?
Is it on?
Are we live? Hello and welcome to the very first live Q&A with the Monzo Plus team. I'm Sherry. I'm a product marketer here at Monzo. And I'm joined with a couple of my colleagues from the Monzo Plus team who will be answering some of the questions that you've submitted today.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm a business analyst in the Plus team, so looking after partnerships, cards, and all sorts of other things that need to get done.
Hello, my name is Luba and I'm a product manager for Plus.
And I'm Jonas. I'm one of the founders of Monzo, and I'm also working on Plus.
Cool. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We hope this is going to be a more interesting lunchtime where you'll get to get some insight onto Monzo Plus. So a ton of you submitted your questions. So thank you very much for taking the time to do that. I've combined them. So a lot of you asked the same questions and a lot of them got a couple of upvotes. So yeah, we'll be going through a list that I've prepared and yeah, people will be jumping in to answer them. So I'll start by reading out the questions. So the first one, a very interesting one. In 2 to 5 years, what do you want Monzo Plus to offer our customers?
I can take that. A very good question. So from the earliest days, we said that we want Monzo to be a marketplace that gives people access to all kinds of financial services that they need in their lives, and it's not necessarily a given that all of them will come from us directly. It's also not necessarily a given that all of them will be needed in the same way by all customers. And so Monzo Plus very much is one of our first steps towards that vision. So if you go back to 2016, Tom wrote a excellent blog post saying the bank of the future is a marketplace, and I think you'll see a lot of the themes we have here in Plus. And specifically, what I think we can do very differently from other banks is that I want a product where whenever something in your life changes, like maybe you buy a car or you have kids or you get married or you move into a new house or whatever it is, or your income level changes, you know that you can just go into your Monzo Plus subscription and easily customize it with new features and new services that you might need now but didn't need before. And you know that it's going to be really easy, and you know that these vendors are all hand-picked and that they'll just work just like you expect it from Monzo. I don't think that's 2 to 5 years away, though. Hopefully more closer to 2 years. Do you want to add anything?
Anyone else?
Yeah, I guess I'd like to emphasize Monzo's mission, and that's making Monzo work for everyone. And this is the core part for Monzo Plus as well, making sure that actually you get access to all the things that you need and really easily, and can really trust that these are good providers and getting good deals and so on. But I think one of the core things in our approach is actually this customization, where you can, depending on what happens in your life, really make it yours and make it suit you. So
Cool. That ties in quite nicely with the next question, which is, over time, do you anticipate making Monzo Plus a place where you can have all the essentials in one place? For example, life insurance, pet insurance, phone, contents, etc. It would be really good to hear about how we're approaching that and how we're going to help that happen.
sure. So I think that builds really nicely on the previous question. For sure, the answer is definitely yes. I think right now we're starting with, like, we're building out our roadmap in terms of how we're going to get there, and this is very much based on the feedback that we're getting and the suggestions that you, our customers, are giving us, and like, what are the things that we expect will be the most impactful right now. So it will take us time to actually get there until you can get everything in one place, but we're definitely on the way there. So in terms of, I think what Jonas already mentioned, some of the things that we'll be providing, we'll be using third-party providers for sure, because someone already built a business around it. They're actually providing really good products and something that we can offer really quickly as well. So I think it's worth elaborating a little bit around how we're actually partnering up with some of those providers and how we're picking them. So I'll pass over to Sam.
Yeah, so Monzo Plus should really be a network of the most carefully handpicked providers, and that means that we're prioritizing a few different things for our customers. So the first is about offering a really great product. It's so easy when you're buying products, especially like insurance, to get tricked by some small print or caught out by an exclusion that you just didn't realize was there. So the first thing we want to do with Monzo Plus is make sure that if you get recommended a product by Monzo Plus, it's genuinely really good. And that's kind of the first part of all of our conversations. But the second part, and what should set Monzo Plus apart from going out and buying insurance individually, is that these should be really great deals. So, as by part of Monzo kind of being involved in the transaction, you should be able to get a deal that you just can't get anywhere else. So, Monzo Plus should be such a no brainer for the place where you go to get financial problems solved within your life. Because you trust us to recommend you to places because you've earned that trust, and because it makes financial sense to use the partners that we recommend to you. So we really want to make sure that across all of the insurance verticals and other aspects of Monzo Plus that we're recommending to people, that we're keeping those principles of quality and great value at the forefront as we expand.
Cool. So we've got a ton of cool stuff on our roadmap. We've shared some of that on the Monzo Plus page and as well on the community. But at the moment, you're not able to add any new custom features that we release. Luckily, we haven't released a huge ton right now, but we've had a couple of questions on when we'll be able to add features retrospectively. So if you've signed up to Monzo Plus already and you didn't take out travel money or travel insurance, you can't add it on. So a couple of people have asked when that will be happening.
So really good question. I think it's really, really core part of our vision that we will be rolling out new things all the time, and internally we call it rolling thunder. So we hope it's something that we will continue doing on and on. And so obviously to make it available to everyone, like you should be able to add new features, and this is one of the things that we will be working on next, for sure. So hopefully soon we will be having like several other add-ons actually within weeks, I hope. And this is definitely one of the things we will be working on next. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing to that. So it might be useful to talk a little bit about one of our recently enshrined values, which is to think big and start small. That explains some of the things we're doing with Monzo Plus that might be unusual, perhaps for other organizations or other similar products. So I've heard on the forum and read in the press, perhaps it is a little bit strange that a feature such as adding additional extras to a customizable bundled bank account, it seems like a glaring omission. And what we're basically doing here is just we're trying to release as early as possible, as soon as we have something that solves a problem, even if it's just for a small number of customers, and then we collect feedback and we build on that. And that is throughout the history of Monzo, that's always what has led us to the best products, because it may well turn out that some of our hypotheses that we had early on are totally incorrect or won't pan out. So it'd be a shame if you spend all this effort building all the stuff we just spoke about completely without ever once releasing it to people. But on the flip side, this approach to product development requires a certain amount of trust, I would say, that obviously we're not going to just leave something there. We will do what Luba called rolling thunder, which is just on an ongoing basis. There's a whole team working on this that every few weeks we'll be releasing something new.
Cool. Got another question here about pots. So if pots didn't exist and were built today, would they be made an optional extra for Plus? And if not, what would the criteria be? That sounds like quite a good question about like how we see Monzo Plus fitting in with the overall Monzo experience.
I'm
One of you.
Yeah, I can do that. I think it's an important one around. So actually, looking back a little, at some point we thought that we will not be doing at all. It's not something. It's not doesn't align with Monzo values very well. That's what we thought it was. Now we decided that okay, actually, customers are asking for additional features, and this is really important that we offer this sort of thing. But I think there's a very important balance to find around what are the things that are part of Plus and what are the parts that are part of the, what are the features that are part of the basic, but not basic, like core banking experience with Monzo. And we're really, really careful about this. And our example is a perfect example where it allows people to budget much better. And this is what we're optimizing for at Monzo, like making money work for everyone. And this must be part of the core experience. So things that are part of Plus, at the moment, the way we think about them is something that actually costs us money, something that is like going an extra mile and adding something to your experience, which is not something you particularly expect, for example, something extra. and more around cost for us. So insurance is a perfect example of that. That actually, like financial habits, for example, like POTS or direct debits from POTS, for example, is definitely something that will be part of the core experience and will offer to everyone.
Maybe just one thing to add is that, like everything else, this changes over time as well. So there are certain things that you probably expect from a bank account in the UK, and those things need to be free, and we need to be doing them well in order to operate a successful core business. But then beyond that, there might be some things that initially we put into Plus, but then 3 years later, the market has moved and everybody has it in their normal bank accounts, and then it moves into the base functionality that is free. So it's all dynamic, I guess.
To just build on that once more. The reason that we want people to sign up for Monzo Plus is because it will be a really compelling product. It should be the kind of pull towards Plus because it's such a great service and connects you to so many different things, rather than a push with free not providing you with everything that you want. So we want to make sure that the things within Plus are like genuine incentives to get Plus, rather than us degrading the core experience to push you into a paid offering.
Cool. Next question ties in quite nicely as well. Will you be offering guaranteed customer service response times to Monzo Plus customers? It would be nice to have one request per month that was responded to within 1 hour or similar.
I think it's sort of building on the same thing. We want to make sure that the core experience is really, really good, and everyone can expect a really good customer service all the time. So it's something that we may explore in the future, maybe more around not maybe specific time responses, but additional support, or I don't know, helping you with budgeting or things like that, where you can talk to more. But specifically about time and support that you may expect. Right now, we want good for every single person that uses Monzo.
This may be a slight tangent, but just on that point, not really related to Monzo Plus. Fundamentally, if you're asking people to put their livelihood into your bank account, then you owe them excellent customer service. And I think right now we have a relatively long way to go on that point because we're growing so quickly. But I think a good level of customer service for a free bank account is that anyone, whether they pay or not, can get an answer in less than a minute. And so, given that we're working against that, towards that in another part of the company, it seems like it might be a sort of a bit of a short-term patch to put this onto Monzo Plus, and there's even a risk that we would then forget to fix it for everyone. But I really, really genuinely believe this is one of the things that has set us apart in the market, the fact that we have 24/7 customer service and you can speak to people, and we need to get those response times back under control.
Cool. So the next set of questions are about timeline. So quite a few of you asked when some of your favorite upcoming features were coming. So we'll go through each one of them one by one, and hopefully we'll be able to share some stories about how, a progress update on how we're working on them. And one in particular, I think it's going to be quite exciting. So the first one is, what are the timelines for releasing metal cards? That was the most popular one. So Sam?
Yeah, so cards take a very long time to make. There are a few things that make it a surprisingly complex process. So we've got to do work on our card processor, we've got to do work with our card network, and we've got to work with card manufacturers to get cards, which means that as fast as we want to get metal cards into the world, it's taken us a little longer than we may have wanted, and we've definitely been hearing all of your comments and feedback pushing us towards that. That all being said, you may have seen some pictures floating around recently of some of our prototypes for metal cards. So Luba gave a talk at the Investival about metal cards, and just today we've received a package with some slightly more finalized cards, which we can take a look at. So Luba has the parcel. If you want to give that an open.
Live unboxing.
So these are fresh from our card manufacturer. We haven't looked at these yet, but hopefully there are some cards in the envelope. It's a very heavy envelope. It's like it's like pass the parcel in here. We're into envelope number 3. So we've been looking at a couple of different designs for metal cards. So this all started when a few of us went out to a factory where the metal cards actually got made and got to spend a couple of days playing around with materials and colors and all sorts to try and get the right card. So we have a few variations that we've got. One is a slightly more metal-looking card. So a white card that looks very like what you will have seen. Sorry, a grey card which looks more similar to what you will have seen with other banks. It really looks like a piece of metal. And the other card that we're looking at is a much more interesting and exciting card that Jonas is holding. So this this card is totally different to everything else you can find in the market. No one else has a white card made out of metal, and very few people even have one made out of plastic. So we're really, really excited to get this card into the hands of you. I think you're gonna love it. It looks so very different and really feels like a unique and special product that you're gonna want to use every day and show off to your friends. So we're hoping to be able to get these available to you in the next couple of months. It'll take us a little bit of time just to get everything set up, to get them ordered. They take a very long time to manufacture, but we're super excited to be able to get you to these by the end of the summer. And we can't wait to see what you think.
Just thought maybe it'd be interesting for people listening. Why do we need like samples, prototypes, and so on? Like, what is the process? So, like, what stage are we at now? Maybe you could
Yeah, that's a really good question. So card designs all start with a conversation internally where we chat a little bit about what we're looking to achieve, what kind of things we want to get out of having this particular card and this particular product available. So the first thing that we do is we kind of pull together some designs on a computer, and we send those off to our card manufacturer to have a look at and kind of give us a little bit of feedback, make sure they comply with all of the many, many rules that we have to follow when designing cards. And then we go out to the people that are actually going to manufacture these cards. So obviously metal cards are a little bit more difficult to make than plastic cards. So we've got to talk to a whole new set of manufacturers, get them on board, understand how they work, and get them really bought into how Monzo works. So we have, some of you may have seen the last set of prototypes we had, which were just the front of the card. And what we're getting now are much more complete cards. So because metal cards are a little bit more difficult to make, at this point we want a set of samples which are exactly like the finished product. So we have a design that we're making sure all of our other cards look like. These are like the purest form of the metal card. It's the one that the rest will all look like. So these samples obviously take a while because they're handmade. They can't be mass produced. It has to go through a very slow process to get kind of 15 hand produced cards. And now when we say we like them, which we'll hopefully do today, we go off and we place an order for lots of them. And that will take another few weeks for manufacturing. To give you a little peek behind the curtain, metal cards just take a very long time to specifically make each one. Engraving the Monzo logo and the MasterCard logo is a really time-consuming process. So it's not going to be quick to make these cards, but we're moving as fast as we can. We know that you really want to see them. So we're now into the final stretch, which is ordering a large quantity and getting them out to our card manufacturer so we can test them and make sure they're all great when we release them to you.
And maybe one thing that is hard to see on the camera about these cards is that they actually feel really, really cool, and they just feel so much better than normal cards. And I used to think, which may be one of the reasons why we haven't done any kind of premium cards for a long time. I just used to think this kind of stuff is so knobby. Like I've never even been in an airport lounge. Like I certainly haven't had a metal card. But this now I just can't help but feel I wish I could replace my Monzo card with this immediately. Another huge benefit that I particularly like about the white one is if you want to, you can also draw on it. Like any kind of pens really stick really, really well. I'm really looking forward to that. I think it'll be really, really cool. And because there's no pen on the front, it's going to be on the back. So you can actually share photos of your artwork afterwards.
They also make a really satisfying ding. So these cards are much, much more fun than plastic cards. They're shiny. You can Instagram them. You can distract your friends by tapping on glasses with them. We think you're going to love these cards. Yeah.
You're in the camera. Oh, there you go.
But they're
Okay.
Yeah, I guess the last thing maybe on metal cards, when we started doing user research, it's something that we've heard a lot, that really our customers want metal cards really a great deal, and it came up over and over again. And me, like Jonas, I also thought at first that metal cards, I was a bit skeptical, but now I'm so sold after actually holding them in my hands. They're really, really cool. So hopefully this will be coming to you really, really soon. Cool. So next up is interest on your balance. So this is essentially getting paid interest for having money in your Monzo account. So this one should be coming to you in a matter of days, I hope, unless something unexpected happens. So this one, hopefully you already know that there are saving spots available. So if you don't, check them out. But we do think offering deposit interest as part of Plus is really important, because you can take advantage of cash in your account that you always need for paying for lunches and buying coffee and so on. So we really want to make it available as soon as we can. The interesting question that we had to explore around this was what is the actual interest rate should be, and how to decide what benefits customers the most. So we ran a survey, which you may have seen, and we're actually running. So we ran several ones, like hopefully you will see and be satisfied with what you will get. So this will be part of the core account, which you will get at no additional increase in price. So hopefully this is coming really, really soon. Is mobile insurance, and I have to say, as a person who reads all your comments on the community, this is possibly the most requested feature after metal cards. So yes, what are the timelines on mobile insurance? So
Yeah. So I'm very excited for mobile insurance. I have broken my phone in every conceivable way. So for me personally, I think this can't come quickly enough. We are coming close to a point where we're going to be able to start building it. So we're working really closely with a partner to offer you, again, really, really good insurance. We want to make sure that if you break your phone, you're not without it for a week. Well, you have to send it off to get the screen replaced. We're hoping to be able to offer this at some point in the next few months. It's just a matter of kind of getting on and building it, but we're all ready to go. It's something we're excited to offer.
do you want to add? I guess at the moment we, in terms of insurances, so we already offer travel insurance, as you hopefully know. In terms of insurances, the next thing we decided to prioritize was contents insurance, and something that we're already building. It's already in the works. So as part of contents insurance, you can actually, your mobile phone is covered. But we know that a lot of people are specifically excited about mobile. So it's definitely on our roadmap as well. Awesome. So next up, something that Jonas will not be using, apparently, airport lounge access.
Yeah, airport lounges. Again, we're super excited to offer them. We know it's one of those things that kind of people expect as a part of a really premium feeling bank account. And we want to be able to offer that to you. It's coming at some point in the year. We are ready to offer it, and it's kind of something that we have committed to launching. So we're excited to be able to share that later this year.
So already picked a provider for airport lounge. So it's a matter of getting to it. So Monzo Plus is something that, like, in the end, you should be able to get everything that you need, but it takes time until we actually get to build some of those features. So whenever you have feedback or think that there's something that we should be prioritizing that we're not,
or like please let us know via the community forum, because it really helps us decide what is actually going to be next on our roadmap. So airport lounges for sure until the end of the year, but probably mobile insurance first.
And last one on the timelines is breakdown insurance, which is also another very popular one. So breakdown cover.
Yeah. So one of the first things I do when I come into the office every morning is check the list of things that have been submitted through the suggestions box on monzo.com/plus. So please keep your suggestions coming through there. And I've noticed a huge amount of interest in breakdown insurance. So the moment we're out speaking to lots of insurers, really understanding the market, how we can offer you a great product, and how we can offer that at a really compelling price point as well. Um, so we're working through that process at the moment. If you are a breakdown insurer, feel free to reach out. Um, but again, it's very much on the roadmap and something that we'll be prioritizing probably a little bit after mobile insurance, but certainly in the next few months.
Can I just say one thing maybe that might be interesting for people to hear about is how we actually build these things, and sort of just to paint a picture how many people are working on this kind of thing, and so on and so forth. So we picked up this work sometime earlier this year, maybe in early February or something like that. And the way we internally work is we have product delivery squads that are interdisciplinary, and you have in a squad, you have a product manager like Luba, and you have a few engineers, and you might have a product marketer like Sherry, you might have business analysts like Sam if you need to deal with third parties a lot. And over the last few months, I would say probably the number of people that have been working full time on Monzo Plus was maybe 7 or 8 or something like that. There's always some other projects that people get sucked into, so it's hard to say for sure. But based on the success of even this super early release version of Monzo Plus that you all participated in, one thing to note is perhaps that this quarter, probably twice as many people are going to be working on it. So a whole second squad. Hopefully that will help release some of these things quicker. But just for the avoidance of doubt, this has definitely been one of the projects we've identified over the last few months that seem to be working, that seem to be getting traction with people, and we want to invest in as quickly as we can now.
Cool. So next up, as Sam mentioned, we read all the suggestions that you put on monzo.com/plus. So if you haven't already, please submit them. And a ton of things we received for today's event were also some more suggestions of things that you'd like to see as part of Monzo Plus. So this section is, has Monzo considered introducing, as part of Monzo Plus, the following? So the first one is virtual cards.
So for those of you who don't know what the virtual card is, so it's essentially getting a card number and without having an actual physical card. So you get the details of a card, so you can pay online, but don't receive an additional card. So it's something you can get within your Monzo app. So definitely that we really want to. What are the usual use cases for virtual cards? So usually one is the security one. So if you're paying online, you're not really sure about the website, you could use your virtual card. So you don't later on need to order a physical one if something goes wrong in terms of security, or like your details get compromised. And the other one that we heard quite a lot is people quite value separation of spending. So for instance, having a pot with a virtual card attached, and having all the subscription come out of it in the same way that you do with direct debits. So we definitely want to build this. We're planning to, the idea is to offer maybe around 3 virtual cards that you can use to actually set up your spending in that way from your pots along with direct debits, and then have like 1 or 2 cards to actually pay online for this kind of security concerns. So not sure about the timeline yet, but it's again definitely on the roadmap. So now that Jonas mentioned we have more people working on it, hopefully we'll be able to offer it sooner rather than later.
Cool. Next one is something that you touched on already a tiny bit, Luba, which is direct debit pots. So having a separate pot that all your bills come out of, separate from your day-to-day spending money.
So direct debit from pots, it's one of those things that we would like to offer as part of core Monzo experience rather than Monzo Plus. So we think this is one of the things that doesn't cost us anything at all, but actually helps a lot of people to manage their money better. So we believe that that sort of thing should be part of the core experience. Um, yeah,
I cannot wait for that to come. I really
me
need that.
too.
So next one is about Investor Plus cards. So a lot of you who are early adopters of Monzo Plus are also investors, and you wear your investor badge with pride, and you would like to have your Monzo Plus card say investor. So what's the status, Sam?
Yeah, so we slightly messed up on this at the start by not offering this as something from day one of Plus. We are, however, super aware that this is something you really want. So hopefully in the next month or so, we'll be able to start offering this. We have samples with of Plus cards with Investor. We are expecting to be able to put this into production quite soon. So we this is something we know that you want, and quite rightly, if you're kind of giving something to Monzo, you want to get something back. So we're aware, we're working on it, hopefully very soon. And shall I pick up the other? So something that you're also touching on a little bit is about custom design cards. Um, so some banks, for example, will let you print a picture onto your card. Um, these something we care quite a lot about at Monzo is things being good. And sometimes at the moment these cards, because so there are two ways you can make cards without getting too deep into the weeds. So when you're printing on plastic, you can either lay down kind of an ink, which is what we do with our main cards. Kind of we have this hot coral colored ink that we put on the cards, and it makes the whole card look beautiful. The other way you can do it is you can digitally print. So this is more similar to kind of an inkjet printer that you might see in a home or an office. And the benefit of this is that you get really high fidelity images. You can print on photographs of your dog or your family. But it also looks a little grainier. The colors aren't quite so vibrant. And it can sometimes wear off a little bit if you don't have this plasticky film over the top. So we're aware that it's something you really want, but at the moment, we're a little worried that the quality of these cards might not be good enough. So we're going to keep an eye on it, see what comes along in the world of card technology. And as that improves, we would love to keep offering better cards. These Plus cards we have at the moment are like the very first step on our journey, and we can't wait to make some really, really amazing cards for Monzo Plus customers.
Cool. Next up is letting me bolt on features for 30 days. And I think somebody mentioned this would be super helpful for something like travel insurance, taking it out the month that you go away. So yeah, is that something that we have considered?
Um, this question opens up really nicely the topic of customization that I think it'd be nice to say a couple of words on. In particular, pros and cons of customization, and then I will answer that question specifically. So I think like, customization is definitely one of the principles that we're using when we're building this, because with bundles, the best we can do is target the average customer, but that's not really good enough. So we do want to make sure that people can customize their bundle and get the features that you really need for their stage of life. But at the same time, there are a couple cons, like disadvantages of having a really customizable product. So one is like much more complex user experience. So we started about that we're planning to. Imagine that at some point we have like a long list of 30, 40 features, and all of a sudden it becomes really clunky and difficult and so on. Imagine also adding a dimension of number of days that you want to have a particular feature, and it becomes really tricky. So point out here is the commercial. So with usual bundles where there's just a set of features that you have, the reason they can appear so cheap is because essentially banks are counting on you not to use a lot of these features. With approach where you can self-select into specific features, the customer is much more likely to use them. So as we're building this product, we'll need to figure out and find this right balance around how does it work commercially? Is it a competitive price, given that the cost of these features will be slightly higher? So I think adding this kind of additional dimension around the number of days is definitely something that we should consider. But I think we need to make sure that this first iteration of customizable bundle actually works, both for our customers in terms of user experience, but also from the commercial side. So I think it's a really, really interesting suggestion, and we should look into that more. But I think it's going to be like next step for us.
Cool. So the next question is about Monzo Points. So some of you may have heard about Monzo Points on the community. It's essentially a way for you to earn points and rewards from spending on your Monzo card. At the moment, this is in a small trial, and somebody has asked, how about Monzo Points for Plustomers? Bonus points for using the word Plustomers. I love you. But yeah, how are the two interacting, if at all?
I take that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're all incredibly excited about Monzo Points. It's one of the things that often holds people back from using Monzo, or one of the reasons that I make certain transactions on a card that isn't Monzo, for example. So Monzo Points is is clearly a really exciting thing that we really want to offer. And for Monzo customers, we want to make sure that we're offering even better offers. So something we've committed to offering very soon is kind of special offers and discounts for Monzo Plus customers. We're really, really excited to get these available to you. And then in the future, we think there's a really, really nice confluence between special offers and points. So it may not be particularly soon that we start bringing points into Plus, but it's very much the direction that we want to go in. We want to make sure that using your Monzo card is an incredibly seamless way to gather reward for spending. And for Monzo customers, like, it certainly makes a lot of sense that we incentivize you even more because you're trusting us with a larger role in your financial life.
Cool. Next question. If you roll out Monzo Plus to public, will the price be the same? Are beta users going to benefit somehow from signing up to it early? I can take the first part. We are rolling it out to the public. It's my job. I will let Luba take the next part.
Sure. So at the moment, you can sign up to Plus to up to for £3 a month for 12 months. So when we roll it out to public and add several new features to the core, the price will increase to £6. So you will get additional features that will be part of the core without increasing the price. So you will definitely benefit from being one of the first customers for sure. I think I'd like to elaborate a little bit on the price and how we're approaching it. First thing worth mentioning is that it's the first time at Monzo we're actually figuring out how much something should cost, and it's a learning experience for us. And I think we may make a couple of mistakes, and we'll have to learn from them. One thing to point out is, how do you actually price something when your product is evolving extremely quickly? And this is how we do things at Monzo. We try to roll it out early, get feedback, make it better, and so on. So what does it mean in terms of price? And it's a very tricky question. Then the other thing, I guess, like, before I elaborate a little bit on the approach we took, is coming back to the customization challenge, where we don't fully understand the cost of some features because we're not quite sure yet how some of the customers will be using them. So it's a quite tricky balance that we need to find. So the way we've approached this so far, we essentially decided to offer fairly basic product, but also offer a discount, which you have all managed to benefit from. But at the next iteration, when we add additional core features, the price will go up to £6. And we'll need to see what that actually means in terms of both adoption, but also for us in terms of costs. So we'll need to keep monitoring it and see what we can learn from this. So I think in terms of price, we'll need to, just with like everything we do, we will probably need to iterate on that and see what works or doesn't.
Another question that's very popular. Will Plus ever come to joint accounts?
Yes, I think it should come to joint accounts. But hopefully you've seen our roadmap and we've chatted through a lot of things that we're planning to do. We really want to make sure that Plus is really, really amazing. So joint accounts, in my mind at least, it's definitely one of the things we'll need to think about once we feel that Plus is a really amazing product already. But I definitely would like to make it available for joint accounts too. But the honest answer is that we haven't thought about this a great deal at that point yet.
Another card question. Have you changed card suppliers? The Plus cards feel like lower quality. Certainly we saw on the community, a couple of people sharing some photos where you could see some scratches or the CVC code through the card. So yeah, what's the deal?
Yeah. So over the last few months, I've become a cards nerd. Um, it's been quite a journey, really understanding the wild world of cards. So we to kind of take the question directly, we haven't changed card suppliers. But let me tell you a little bit about how the Monzo Plus cards came about. Um, so there are kind of two parts to a plastic debit card. Um, one is the core. So there's a kind of a bit of plastic in the middle of the Monzo card. And you'll notice that on all of our cards, that's a kind of coral colored core. Um, and what that means is that if you were to snap your card in half, it would still be coral. It's coral the whole way through. And the thing which is really, really great about that is that the edge of the card is also coral. So you don't have this weird experience where your card kind of looks a certain way from the front, but then you turn it on the side and it looks a bit crappy. So we heard a lot of feedback from you that some people weren't huge fans of the coral, or at least wanted a choice of colors. But because we're Monzo, we felt it was really important to keep that connection to the kind of original Monzo card. So you'll notice that with the Monzo Plus cards, the middle of it is coral as well. The other part of the card is kind of the skin. So these are the two layers on the front and the back, which again on our normal card are coral, but on the Plus card are the bits that are blue. And what this means is that because you have two very differently colored components within your card, so the coral core and the blue outside, sometimes there's a little bit of color transfer between them. So you'll see around the chip, you can see a little bit of coral, and sometimes through the numbers on the front, you can see a little bit of coral as well. So we've been listening to your feedback a lot. We've been examining cards that have been sent back to the office and sending those off to our manufacturer to put under a microscope. And we're working hard to improve the cards. So we have a slightly different variant of the cards that'll be coming along quite soon. We're making some tweaks to the card to make them a little bit more robust and address a few of the quality issues. And we're also not sitting on our laurels. So we are examining all kinds of materials and options and possibilities for the future of Monzo Plus. So that's kind of the really high quality metal card that we're looking at, but also a whole bunch of other materials and options. So while these first version of Plus cards have fallen short of our expectations, we're very aware that we need to make that better, and we've got a whole load of plans to do so.
Cool. So we've got a couple of minutes left. So I thought I'd include a question in here that's not specifically about Monzo Plus, but I'm sure you would all be riveted by, which is, will you be crowdfunding again?
Yeah, very good question. We're coming up to just over 6 months since we finished the last crowdfunding. What that means is that I am probably ready to say yes, that would be great. In truth, crowdfunding has been super, super impactful for Monzo, and I think we want to keep doing it as long as we can. Although inevitably, at some point, of course, if you're publicly listed, that's just the default state of the world. But until that time, I think we definitely want to keep doing crowdfunding. It is just every single time an enormous, enormous amount of work. And we have only just finished that bit of work from last time. So yeah, hopefully in the next few years, there'll be another opportunity.
Last question is from me, and it is for each of you. And it is, what are each of you most excited about for Monzo Plus?
I'll go first. I am most excited for Monzo Plus to be such a clear product that gives you value in your financial life that you can guarantee you will make back your monthly fee and then some, and you will want to sign up for Monzo Plus the second you start using Monzo. We should make the product incredibly clear, simple, and value adding for you. That Monzo Plus is just an absolute no-brainer and something you really want to get.
I second that a lot. Like I want Monzo Plus to be something that is just silly not to get. it's just such an obvious good product that everyone's really excited about it and recommending their friends, just like Monzo. Like if you're in Monzo, you should get Monzo Plus. That's what I really want people to be saying. In terms of like first things that are coming next and specific features and so on, I'm personally really excited about metal cards. So they just feel so great. I really want to add one for myself and start using it. So.
For me, and I should caveat this with I understand that this is not coming anytime soon, and I think that makes sense, but it is probably joint account support. 100% of my spending goes through my joint account with my wife, and I have a Plus card. I actually think it's beautiful, even with the color bleed around the chip and around the letters, because it means you can see inside. But anyway, I just don't use it, and I wish, especially once I have a beautiful metal card, that I could use it, but it's connected to my joint account.
Awesome. Well, that's all the questions for today. Thank you very much for joining. I hope this was insightful and useful. I'll be sending around a feedback form at some point, so please let us know if you found this to be a helpful format. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank
Bye.
you.